She threw me out. She wasn't going to stab or kill me. I wasn't afraid of dying, but I wasn't stepping back into that house. So I slept on the hill. Then it rained. Eventually, I walked to a friend's place. It was a girl, not a girlfriend, but her family truly cared about me. I knocked on the door and asked, "Can I sleep in your laundry room?" That's where I stayed. I had $12 or $13 to my name. I took a bit of it, got on a bus, and remembered this bookstore. I went in and was drawn to this book, The Magic of Believing. It taught me that belief shapes everything. Every action is rooted in belief. But more than that, it showed me how to program beliefs by conditioning them, using your body, your voice, all your energy, saying things again and again until your nervous system believes it. You literally hypnotize yourself into owning that new reality. I used to write messages on the mirror in that laundry room. One read, "Only a loser's depressed." Now, that's not true, but I knew I wasn't a loser, and that thought gave me leverage. I told myself, I'm not going to be depressed because I was seriously struggling emotionally. I use affirmations. I go on runs saying things like, "Every day in every way, I'm getting stronger and stronger." I reconditioned my nervous system until I felt capable of succeeding. Reading was my escape, but it also became my transformation. I dove into Emerson's essays. I read tons of autobiographies because when you read someone's life story, you're literally thinking their thoughts. If you do that long enough, you start to adopt some of their mindset. It's like learning the piano. You can fiddle around on your own, but if you're smart, you study others' music. Eventually, you internalize enough patterns that you start creating your own music. That's what happened to me with books. And events, seminars were life-changing. I went to everyone I could. I didn't even have rent money, but I'd invest in a seminar because I knew I couldn't afford not to change. I had to use everything I learned because I gave up everything to be there. When I was 17, I worked as a janitor at Glendora High School. On weekends, I helped people move. A family friend, who was a landlord, had a strange interaction with me once. My parents had said to him, "You used to be such a loser. How did you become successful?" I asked him directly, "How did that happen?" He said he went to a seminar. I didn't even know what that word meant. He told me it was where someone who's had decades of success condenses all their experience into a few hours or days, so you can skip the trial and error. I asked how long it was. 3.5 hours. How much? $35. That was basically a week's pay for me. I made $40 a week. I asked him to get me in. He said, "No." I said, "Why not?" He said, "You won't value it if you don't pay for it." I pleaded. I told him I was sleeping in my car, working nights as a janitor. He cut me off. "If you're serious, you'll find a way." That shook me. I sweated over that decision, but I eventually said, "Okay." I upgraded from sleeping in a broken-down car to a beat-up 1968 Volkswagen my mom had picked up in Baja. I pulled up to this fancy hotel in Orange County in a blue leisure suit I'd gotten from a thrift store, wearing a fake gold chain. But I was ready. I talked my way in. I'd read so many books that I was finishing the speaker's sentences. I was disruptive without meaning to be. I was just hungry to learn. During the break, I approached the speaker, Jim Rohn, and told him I wanted to work for him. He said, "If you want to work for me, go through my programs." I told him I didn't have the money. He said, "I'm not your banker." I offered to pay him back later and promote him. Still no. He told me, "Everyone gets what they have to have. Some people have to survive. Others have to succeed. Decide which one you are." That moment changed me. I ran to banks, but they all turned me down, 4 in a row. Then I stood outside Bank of America in West Covina, California, on Citrus Avenue. I hyped myself up, got into this powerful state. I spotted a kind-looking bank teller and poured my heart out. "I'm Tony Robbins. I need to borrow $1,200, not for fun or repairs, but for a seminar that could change my life." She looked skeptical but curious. She asked my address. I told her it was Citrus Avenue, but it was just a 7-Eleven parking lot. I admitted I was living in my car. She was stunned. "So you want us to send a loan bill to 7-Eleven Will you sleep in your car? I said, yes, because I'll be there. The mailman knows me. He gives me my mail. She saw my age, 17. You can't sign a contract, she said. I'll be 18 soon. How soon? 2 weeks. She looked me in the eyes and said, swear to me I'll never have to come looking for you, because I'm not chasing you down at Denny's or 7-Eleven. I swore. She said, I've never met anyone like you. She got me that loan. Her name was Mrs. Williams. I still tell people she gave me my start. That $1,200 meant everything to me, more than the car I was living in. I went to that seminar. There I met Mike Keys, still my friend to this day. We were both broke, so he let me stay in his hotel room. Wealthy people were there too, but we were taking notes like our lives depended on it. And honestly, they did. Years later, I spoke at Jim Rohn's funeral. He would always say, you never know who's in the room. He'd tell the story of the loud teenager finishing his sentences, Tony Robbins. And he'd talk about the 2 broke kids in the seminar, Mike and me, who applied what they learned more intensely than anyone else.